Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from Free State, Colorado. Hope you're having a great start to your week. The sun is shining, the snow is melting, and we have some election victories to celebrate. That's right. Here in Colorado, there was a silver lining to our 2024 election results, some great victories. Fortunately, they took a little while to be announced. Our supposed gold standard of elections here. Votes are not done being counted, and in these close races, we're just learning these results. But I got to say, some of these victories prove that Colorado is worth fighting for. There's true opportunity here, and if you want to join the fight, please sign up for on Free State Colorado's email list. We have some big plans for 2025. Of course, like, subscribe, and share this. So the biggest victory announced this year, just recently announced, was the defeat of Yadira Caraveo, Democratic Congresswoman who was a rubber stamp for the authoritarian policies of Joe Biden, defeated by Gabe Evans, state representative, now Congressman-elect, serving for the 8th Congressional District here in Colorado. Major victory, huge, moving Republicans closer to their control of the U.S. House of Representatives. And I do have to say, Gabe Evans, his outreach to the Liberty community, his working a deal with the Libertarian Party of Colorado did help him win 110%. So if you don't know, the Libertarian Party of Colorado with the Republican Party of Colorado developed a Liberty Pledge earlier this year where candidates can sign and basically agree to be a pro-liberty legislator, a pro-liberty representative, congressman, what have you, and the Libertarian Party will consider not running a candidate against them. Of course, 2 years ago in 2022, Barbara Kirkmeyer lost to Yadira Caraveo, and Dan Ward was a Libertarian candidate running in that seat who was quote unquote a spoiler. Well, Gabe Evans did not want to see a repeat of that, so he worked with the Libertarian Party to develop a pro liberty pledge that he was willing to sign to say that he is going to stand up for liberty and be a representative of the entire community here in Congressional District 8, not just the conservative Republicans, but also liberty minded independent voters. Gabe Evans was also on our pre election live stream here at Free State, Colorado before the election and came to Northern Colorado Liberty on the Rocks. We got a great meetup going, but his outreach showed that he was willing to represent more than just Republicans and wants to be a representative for the entire Liberty community here in Colorado. So, congratulations, Gabe. Great news there, and a great victory for the Libertarian Party as well for working out this pledge and coming up with this plan. Moving on to our state house, we have Ryan Gonzalez defeating Mary Young. Wow, amazing. This was a nail biter. Results just announced a few days ago. Of course, days and days after the election. But Ryan Gonzalez lost by 330 votes 2 years ago in a heartbreaking loss. Now, here in 2024, he is up over 500 votes. Of course, counting is still happening, but nonetheless, a massive turnaround, a flipped Democratic seat. Mary Young was a heavy hitter. I mean, she's a heavy hitter in state politics. Her husband is Dave Young, who's the state treasurer. So, I mean, an elected state position. Mary Young had Jared Polis, John Hickenlooper, Jason Crow, among others, coming up to Greeley and door knocking and hosting little events and really trying to get some excitement around her campaign. But voters here in Weld County are more conservative than ever, more red than ever, hopefully more liberty minded than ever. And they rejected Mary Young and are sending Ryan Gonzalez down to the state house. This is a huge victory. Ryan Gonzalez also reached out to the Libertarian Party. Earlier this year, he actually had a video going through the pledge line by line, talking about his thoughts about supporting liberty, being a pro liberty legislature down in Denver. Let's hope he follows through with that. I'm sure he will. Excited to see a new Liberty leader emerge and defeat an incumbent Democrat. So, really exciting news there up in House District 50. In the state Senate, another flip seat was Scott Bright defeating Matt Johnston. So, this was an open seat. Kevin Priola was a Republican who flipped to being a Democrat a few years ago. He was term limited, thankfully. He was a terrible, terrible legislator, going after oil and gas, approving new taxes, going after our alcohol industry, believe it or not. But thankfully, this seat is back in Republican hands. This is preventing a Democratic supermajority in the Senate. So huge victory there. Matt Johnston is a Brighton City Council member who is one of the people who voted to basically cause all the issues, all these problems with Polisi Farms, if you've been following that issue in Brighton. So huge victory for Scott Bright. Really happy to see him win, and great news. We'll see how he does in the Senate. Now, this is not over yet. Looking good for Dan Woog. He is up just over 200 votes at the latest counts. This is going to probably go to maybe a recount. We'll see. They're still curing ballots. They're calling people. They're making sure every vote counts in this one because it's going to be a nail biter. It's going to be really close. This would be a flipped seat if Dan Woog pulls it out. Now, Dan Woog was previously in the state house in a different district, but then after redistricting, kind of got shuffled around. So he has a really good opportunity here to win, to pick up a seat for the Republicans and keep chipping away at that Democratic supermajority in the House. So good luck, Dan. Going down to Colorado Springs, House District 16. Another one that's a nail biter, too close to call, possible recount coming. And this is Rebecca Keltie against Stephanie Vigil. If you've been following Colorado's state legislature, you know Stephanie Vigil is extremely authoritarian. She's anti-parent, anti-family. She's responsible for some of the worst legislation we've seen this last 2 years. So really, really hope that Rebecca Keltie can pull this off. I mean, look at that. I mean, that is as close as it gets, people. Your vote does count in these really tight races, for sure. For sure. Now, 2 years ago, I get on my whiteboard here. V Hill won by 710 votes. 710 votes was all that V Hill won by in 2022. So this would be an amazing pickup by Rebecca Keltie. And potentially, if, with Woog, Kelty, and then with Ryan Gonzalez, we could see the end of the Democratic supermajority in the state house, which would be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Let's go to RTD, often neglected and forgotten about. RTD is one of the largest governments here in Colorado. Kathleen Chandler is a Liberty leader for sure. She works at the Independence Institute, leading the local government initiative there, showing people how they can get involved by signing up for boards and commissions. This is an amazing victory. Really excited to see how Kathleen Chandler is going to hold RTD accountable, make sure they're spending our tax dollars properly, and just make sure it's a better organization overall. She's going to be a great voice there, and really excited about this one as well. So, congratulations, Kathleen. Ballot measures. Some bad ones passed, don't get me wrong, but we have a couple of victories to celebrate. The ban on mountain lion, lynx, and bobcat hunting was defeated, overwhelmingly defeated. I mean, look at that, nearly 300,000 votes to defeat it. Amazing. Of course, we've seen this anti hunting, anti agriculture movement here in Colorado. Some extremists trying to basically go after our ability to hunt, ability to raise wildlife or raise animals. We've seen the horrible, horrible wolf reintroduction and the disaster that's been for mountain ranchers across Colorado. So thankfully, voters are hopefully waking up to this bad ballot box biology and rejecting some of these extreme measures here. Here's the map for Proposition 127, the ban on mountain lion hunting. Only 6 counties supported it. Boulder, no surprise. Broomfield, Denver, of course, Arapahoe, San Juan, and San Miguel. These are the only 6 counties that voted in favor of Proposition 127. So pretty resounding defeat, that's for sure. Good there. Proposition 131, one of the most expensive ballot measures we've seen in recent history. Kent Theory spent millions. We saw millions of dollars of out of state money come in. So, it's part of a coordinated nationwide scheme to change how Americans and Coloradans elect people to Congress, to the Senate. We've seen ranked choice voting fail in a lot of places. Alaska this year actually voted to get rid of ranked choice voting. They experimented with it for a few years and absolutely did not like it. So this all candidate open primary and ranked choice ballot measure failed. Thankfully, resoundingly, very happy about this. I'm sure Kent Theory's got other schemes up his sleeve to change how Colorado's elections work. They're definitely not going away, this whole movement of people. Be very interesting to keep an eye on them years in the future. Here's the map. So very similar. Only a few counties supported Proposition 131. That is Summit, Lake, Adams, Denver, San Juan, and San Miguel. Those are the only counties that voted in favor of Proposition 131. Moving into Denver. Some good victories in Denver, believe it or not. Ballot measure 2R. defeated. This was Mayor Mike Johnson's scheme to raise taxes on hardworking people in Denver, make them pay more money for their food, for their goods they buy, for the necessities they need to live, in order to fund an affordable housing scheme. Hopefully, voters are growing more skeptical of the Denver's government's ability to solve this homelessness issue. They are failing. They're spending millions of dollars over the last few years in taxpayer money, and there's just the same amount of people living on the streets as there has been before they started spending this money. So, yes, good to see that this $100 million a year sales tax measure was defeated. And, voters, I think, are skeptical, rightfully so, that the Denver government is not able to fulfill its obligations and fulfill its promises towards these schemes. Also in Denver, 308. Look at this. This is huge. 50,000 vote differential. Massive, massive victory here. What was 308? 308 was the fur ban. That's right. They tried it again. This is the second time that I'm aware of, at least. But they would have outlawed sales of fur in Denver. See a little bit of a pattern here, thankfully, but 308 voters said no, we're not interested in that. So some of these people who are extremists, I guess, going after our way of life, whether they're trying to outlaw hunting, outlaw fur sales, outlaw meat production, they are being defeated, thankfully. That moves us into 309 in Denver. Huge. Look at that. 90,000 vote differential. Massive, massive victory on 309. That is the slaughterhouse ban. Really excited. I was a little nervous about this, but it's great to see that Denver voters supported a local employee owned business, which is that Superior Farms, which processes nearly 15% of the lamb in the entire country. I mean, this initiative, if it would have passed, would have been devastating for agriculture, not just in Colorado, but in surrounding states. So good. Thank you to the voters of Denver for stopping this slaughterhouse ban. Good news there. And celebrate this victory for sure. Moving over to Aurora. That's right, Aurora. They overturned their pit bull ban this year. They had a dog ban, breed specific ban that they stopped and got rid of. So that's great. I mean, there are some bad aggressive dogs out there, don't get me wrong, but you got to go after the owners on those situations, enforce that strongly. If somebody's dog is getting out of control or hurting somebody, there should be stiff penalties for that for sure. But just a breed ban based on specific characteristics of a dog doesn't make a lot of sense. So we've kind of seen this trend fade away in Colorado. A lot of these dog bans have failed over the several years. So really excited to see Aurora voters overturn their pit bull ban. Good news there. So some victories, right? We got to celebrate the victories that we have, see the opportunities, and that kind of leads me to some very realistic goals, politically speaking, for preserving or fighting back for liberty here in Colorado. So very political here, but if Republicans, if voters, if Liberty people can maintain that 50-50 split in congressional representation, that would be huge. I mean, that would be massive. That is a prerogative, I think, of the Colorado Republican Party, of pro-liberty voters, pro-gun voters, people who want to hold on to their tax money, um, the money that they earn in their wallets that the government keeps trying to tax. Maintaining that 50-50 split is a good goal. Very realistic, very possible. Also, keep Democrats from having supermajorities in the legislature. We saw the Senate supermajority not come to fruition this year with the election of Scott Bright, so thankful for that. And then possibly the loss of the Democratic supermajority in the House. So, Republicans aren't taking back the state legislature anytime soon, but if they can prevent supermajorities in both chambers of the legislature, that could prevent some of the worst legislation from passing. Stopping anti-liberty ballot measures, that's a real possibility. I mean, we've seen it this year. Of course, not all of them were stopped, but nonetheless, this is a fight that people can continue fighting and winning. Strengthening red counties, I think that's really important for the liberty movement here in Colorado. We've seen some of these counties start slipping in the other direction, and people need to really maintain these pro-liberty communities, pro-liberty counties across the state. That should really be a focus for people in these next 2 years, is figuring out how to strengthen their community, their districts, their precincts, and their counties to ensure that there's not this Democratic takeover. And like I said, we got 2 years for a lot of elections, 4 years for others. 2 years from now is going to be absolutely wild. It could be one of the biggest midterms in recent memory, one of the most expensive as well. We'll have an open governor, secretary of state, attorney general, treasurer. You're going to have a whole slew of statewide offices up for grabs. And then, of course, you got your state house, your state senate, Congress. I mean, it's going to get absolutely wild in the next 2 years. So if people are out there recruiting and developing liberty leaders, getting organized in their communities, you got to start now. You can't wait for 2026. You have to start now and get organized and get involved. That's a lot of what Free State Colorado is going to be doing, at least on the organization level, and developing some leaders and some talent. So hope you can come along on that journey with me. Again, this is Brandon from Free State Colorado. So, cheers to with your coffee mug or whatever it is you drink. Let's celebrate some of these victories for liberty here in Colorado in 2024 and think about how we can expand upon that in the coming years. Well, thank you very much and